9mm plus P versus 357 Magnum and short-barreled handguns. And today what I have is the Golden Saber ammunition. I've had this ammunition for quite a while. I just haven't really had the opportunity to test it side by side in short barrels. And if you'll notice, the 9mm happens to be a bonded Golden Saber, as where the 357 Magnum is not. And the thing with that is there is no Golden Saber bonded in 357 Magnum. They just don't make it that way. And I could not acquire the traditional standard Golden Saber 9mm plus P. However, that being said, both the bonded and the non-bonded 9mm plus P are both 124 grain, rated at 1180 feet per second. So I think it's a pretty fair comparison here. You will notice, though, I think that there's a little bit more copper content in the 9mm brass jacket versus the 357, and they are both listed as brass jackets, so that is kind of interesting. So about the same amount of travel in these guns, from the nose of the bullet to the muzzle. It's almost identical between both of these, just the way it plays out. So very fair comparison. So we're going to go through the chronograph, see what kind of velocity and accuracy we get at the same time. And then, as always, we're going to go through the Juggernaut box, which contains a 1 3/4 inch pack of bologna that kind of simulates like a pectoral muscle. It's covered by 4 layers of denim and followed by a 1/4 inch medium density fiberboard that kind of simulates like ribs or sternum. And then to water jugs to catch these bullets. How this normally compares to ballistics gel is, after going through that bologna pack, getting out the back of jug 1 is about 9 inches comparison to jug 2, 12 inches, 3, 15 inches, 18, 21, 24 inches, and so forth. So let's get started with the test and see how the 9mm compares to the 357 Magnum in short barrels. All right, I'm about 4.5 yards from the chronograph, about 5.5 yards from the target. We'll start up with the 9mm and just see what kind of velocity we get. It is rated at 1180 feet per second out of, I think, a 4-inch barrel. And I think I did get something only like 1124 feet per second out of my 4-inch barrel, which sometimes, even though it sounds disappointing, it kind of makes for a better short barrel load because it kind of reduces your recoil a little bit. So let's see what we get compared to 180 or 1180 feet per second. No read. 1144. 1116. No read. 1135. No read. 1124. No read. 1124. So about what we got with the 4-inch barrel, but through the G2C. Perfect little load, very low recoil. I mean, there's almost none. Now, let's see how that 357 Magnum compares. All right, 357 Magnum. Now, there's a reason why I don't test Golden Sabers very often. It's because I get some bad chronograph readings a lot of the times. It's very difficult to read them because the brass jacket is very reflective. So whenever I test these, I do like to try to put some black marker on the tips of these. And another thing about this load is a very low end load. I believe it's rated at something like 1240 feet per second out of a 4-inch barrel. That's with a 125 grain bullet. Typically that's your velocity ratings out of a 4-inch barrel with a 158 grain. So it is a very lightened load, but that is what makes it a really good snub nose load. I find that the American Gunner, the Gold Dot short barrel, and the Golden Saber, all 357 Magnum, make the best snub nose loads. So we'll see what we get. I believe it's rated at 1240 feet per second, but we'll see what we actually get in the snub. See, no reading. It's really odd ammunition. It doesn't want to read. One last ditch effort. I'm going to put the lights on the chronograph. That usually doesn't help either. It is just very interesting. All right, one last ditch effort to try to get some kind of reading on this. The lights on the chronograph. That ain't right. Wow. Some sort of primer issue here where it slowed down rotation. Wow. I've never experienced this before. Certainly not with the 357 anyways. Bullet creep. And these don't appear to be crimped. There's no roll on it. There's no roll for a roll crimp on it. Remington, what are you doing? There's not even a cannelure there that it's crimped into. Duh. That ain't right. All right, I believe I had one reading of this several years ago. I ran one through and I got a reading. I'll have to post that, but it took me like 30, 40 shots to get one reading of this ammunition. It's weird. It won't read on my chronograph because of the brass. But that being said, I was previously saying, oh, I think this is one of the best rounds because of the low recoil. I'm not going to recommend that anymore. You can't have that happening in a self-defense scenario where you have bullet creep. There's not even a crimp line on that round. But we'll run them through the ballistic box anyway, just to kind of see how they compare to each other, just to get an idea. All right, we'll see what we get with the 9mm plus P through the ballistic box. Short barrel. Oh, wow. There's a lot of damage. That baloney pack's hanging there, and I see a ton of damage, a ton of splashback. Really impressive. All right, so the baloney pack. Wow, I've never actually seen anything quite like this. It gradually tore its way through, making a larger and larger hole through it as it goes. That's really impressive. And as we impacted the fiberboard, it does appear that we have larger than starting bullet diameter. Definitely all this indicates hollow point expansion for sure. Our first jug definitely indicates expansion. This is massive amount of damage for a little short barrel 9mm. I can see the bullet inside of jug 3. A lot of damage to jug 2. Jug 4 is leaking, so we can definitely call that about 15 to 16 inches comparison to ballistics gel. And looking at the back of this bullet here, I do see that that it is very much brass jacketed. It just looked like the bullet tarnished, so that's why it looked like it had more copper content. That's interesting. Not a huge amount of expansion, but very, very much a lot of uniform expansion. Has these little sharp petals that hook back up. Just a nasty looking little bullet here. Let's see how the 357 compares. All right, 357 mag. We'll see how this compares to that 9mm. Kind of doesn't really matter anymore though, because nobody's going to want to carry this around after seeing what they saw. Definitely a lot of damage though. All right, baloney pack. I made an equally good shot here, so that's good for comparison's sake. What it did to the baloney pack is very similar but smaller. It just took a lot of it right out. Interesting how it just kind of chunks it away. Our impact into the fiberboard, barely bigger than starting diameter. I see two little edges here, or it looks like it may have tried to start to expand, but the other side of it doesn't show any sign of expansion. All right, our first jug actually has more damage than a 9mm. That is a lot of damage. Jug 2 has a lot of damage. Impact on jug 3 is drifting way up significantly. And we went through all the way through 4. We hit jug 5. It's not leaking. That's going to indicate about 18 inches comparison to ballistics gel. Interesting to say the least. And this matches our fiberboard impact. We're missing some petals on one side. The other side has a couple of petals there. So my overall takeaway from this ammunition, you can see it right here with your own eyes. Don't ever use Remington Golden Saber 357 Magnum and a snub nose revolver. And I am looking at this bullet. There is no cannelure, no crimp line whatsoever on this bullet. Not high or low. So basically they're like loading it like a semi-automatic cartridge. They are taper crimping it in. and pushing out Magnum cartridges that way. That is awful. That's like day one of hand loading. You don't use non-cannelure crimp line bullets for revolver cartridges yet. They're supposed to be a reputable company. That is awful. That 9mm did well, but yeah, you take it for what you see. So that's what you get today at the Remington Golden Saber. So as always, comment, share, and like, and thanks for watching.